Now, in our part 1, I told you that there are a lot of controversies about science. Some say science is bad, some say science is good. So there is a research that was propounded by certain scientists, and what they used in that research was the stem cell. And let's go ahead and see what they achieved using the stem cell. Now, what is a stem cell? A stem cell or stem cells are specific human cells that are naturally able to develop in many different kinds of cells. So these stem cells are able to develop. They are specialized cells from human beings. They are able to develop in various kinds of cells. Examples of such cells are blood cells. You know that blood cells there, we have the red corpuscles, we have the white corpuscles, and we have the blood platelets. Those are blood cells. They are capable of developing in another cell. Then we have the muscle cells, we have the brain cells. All this will be given to you in details when you get to the senior class and study biology. So you go deep into it. Now, let us look at the practical, the theory in proper. They are also able to repair. Now, you are still looking at the stem cell. These stem cells, even though they can grow in other cells, they still have the ability to repair damaged cells. When a cell is damaged in the body, stem cells have the ability to repair them. So the scientists looked at these stem cells and discovered that they are very vital and very important. So they decided to work on it. Now, scientists work with two kinds of stem cells. As a matter of fact, there are two kinds of stem cells. The first one is the embryonic stem cell, and we have the adult stem cell. Now let me explain a little on what we call the embryo. Now the embryonic stem cell is the result that happens, please let's go down a little. The embryonic stem cell is the result that happens when a male gamete fuses with a female gamete. When they do that, when there's a fusion, we'll have what we call the zygote. Now, in a nutshell, when the male introduces his male gamete, being the sperm cell, into the female, being the ovum, it fuses to form a zygote, and that zygote is the onset of fertilization. So when fertilization takes place, that fertilization will now develop into what we call the zygote, and from the zygote, it will develop into an embryo. So that little embryo that is forming as a result of this union is what we call the embryonic stem cell. So that little stem cell you are seeing can be used in various functions. So you've heard of the word in vitro fertilization, where when this happens, they'll remove it and put in a test tube and begin to grow it in the lab. So it was on that note that scientists says, let us try what can be done with this embryo. Now, what did they do? They picked the embryo from the fetus and begin to use it to work. Now let's look at the benefit of their research. From their research, they discovered that that embryo was able to treat a disease known as diabetes. Now what is diabetes? The ability for the liver, the inability, for the liver to regulate the sugar level in the blood. So when the liver could not regulate the sugar level, making the patient send out excess sugar as waste product, that situation is known as being diabetic. So the scientists have used this embryonic stem cell to treat or control diabetes, and they equally use it to treat or control heart diseases. Now, stem cell research is equally used on the development of single cell zygotes. So a single cell zygote has equally been used to develop in this aspect. So when they did this, there was a lot of controversy, and that leads to the disadvantage. What are those controversies? Some school of thought disagreed with science findings, saying that the stem cell they used in treating this was supposed to be an entity that should grow to a human form. That destroying that stem cell, using it to treat diabetes, you have destroyed a life. So you can imagine the controversy. The scientists are saying that we can use this stem cell to treat diabetes, heart disease, and encourage the development of single cell zygote. But other people are saying, why should you destroy life in order to save another life? That it is wrong. So those were the controversies that happened as a result of the research on stem cells. Now let me take your mind to another very interesting part, the implications of scientific practices. What are the implications of these scientific practices? One, new medical discoveries can lead to human living healthier, long life, etc. So as they keep on discovering things, you see that, like I'm just been using the coronavirus because that is what is trending in our society today. Like the coronavirus, if scientists is able now to find a vaccine, you discover that the death rate will reduce drastically. So that's why they are working daily to see what they can use in controlling or as a vaccine, or even if the cure is not there, they should have a vaccine to control it. When they do that, you see that humans will live healthier and longer instead of being cut short as a result of the virus. The second implication is that research in increase of crop yield can lead to increase in food production. So as scientists keep on increasing their research on food, making sure a food that is supposed to be, a crop that is supposed to be annual, that is using less than 1 year, to produce, can now use maybe 6 months or less to begin to produce. Recently, I was told there's a species of okra that uses 2 to 3 months duration to produce. Using 2 to 3 months to produce, while we still have species that can take up to 6 to 1 year. So these are scientific findings that will make sure that life is better for us. So if more researches are put into the area of crop yield, the food problem will be a thing of the past. So that is one of the benefits of science. Development of new vehicles, train, and aircraft has made travel easier. You will quite agree with me that there are some vehicles you enter, you don't feel like coming out. It looks like a whole house. There are some trains you enter, like the ones in vogue now. They build it like an aircraft, very comfortable. It makes your journey easier and faster. Like the aircraft, I told you that if you are going to Europe, formerly through ship, you take months, but today you can use 24 hours to get to another country. That is the implication of science. Finally, the development of new communication technology makes communication limited. That is to say that you can communicate anywhere. You can talk to somebody in any part of the earth, any part of the world, as long as there is a gadget for that communication. You can learn, like now, take for instance, I am communicating with you. I'm not staying with you, but you can sit at the comfort of your home and receive this lesson. And if equally ask questions back immediately. That is one of the importance or the implication of scientific practices. They make the world very easy for us. Now let's look at the negative impacts. Negative impacts of scientific practices. You know, everything that has a positive side will equally have a negative part. But let us see if the negative part is so much as compared to the benefits. One, they can be unethical researches. There are some researches that are unethical. Like some time ago, one of the Asian countries were threatening to release some biological weapons. Those things are very destructive. So it is unethical for you to release such a weapon. Just because you are a scientist, you know how to build those bombs, you begin to use them wrongly. You can see that some pharmacists will make combination of drugs that are used for selfish purposes. Some drugs that can throw you off balance, some drugs that can make you forgetful, they begin to use them for crime. Those are unethical. Two, new medical discoveries are curing more diseases, hence increasing the world population. You can imagine that. People are not dying, so the death rate is not equating the birth rate. And as such, there is an imbalance in the ecosystem because of what? New discoveries. Let's go to the third one. New technologies are leading to development of more dangerous weapons that can be used to war. Most sophisticated weapons are being developed today. Like the microbiologists, they can put some microorganisms together and use it as a weapon. And those weapons are very deadly. So if scientists are allowed to launch out some of these devices, it will be very, very dangerous to the world. So those things are on ethics. Now this one is very common in the Europe countries, what we call mercy killing. When somebody is sick, begging for death, the person will tell the medical doctor, please, I'm tired of living, just kill me. And the doctor will terminate that life. So we are looking at it as a wrong practice. That person should be given a fair treatment to live until when death comes. And that death should not be induced. So there are induced death. So when a death is induced, through the concept of the patient, it is called mercy killing. I'm going to stop here today, but I will not leave you without an assignment. Try and get your hands on this. Work on them without making reference. See how you get them right. But if you have any problem in the course of reading the notes, you call my attention through the same medium, and I'll be there to attend to you. Thank you very much.